Morning, everyone. I am here to present MMPC01 as a course code of social processes and behavioral issues. Let's talk about the organization first. To reiterate on, organizations are the group of people who work independently towards some purpose. There has to be a common goal for which all the groups and the teams are working independently. Organization is represented by pyramid design, which is comprises of people, technology, and structure. The entire organization structure is created by interface between people and technology as we are going through the technological advances and rapid changes in technology. So people plays a very important role in building the entire organization structure. When we really talk about the people within the organization, so we'll come to the behavior as well. So if we really talk about the behavioral organizational behavior, it's all about studying how people act at work and applying that knowledge already mentioned by Robinson in 1993 that helps managers to understand, analyze, predict, and manage or control the human behavior at work. If we really talk about the organization as a behavioral aspect, so every organization consists of the people around, and the people, when we talk about the people, it's all about the behavior and how they can manage within the teams and external environment that we'll see further. The nature of the OB is the behavioral approach to journal business management. OB helps in understanding human behavior at work, theory building, as well as a practical application. As application is very important when we understand the theoretical concepts. OB helps in predicting the behavior of people at work. It is an interdisciplinary area, field that derives knowledge from fields of sociology, anthropology, psychology, etc., to constitute applied behavioral sciences. It not only analyzes the behavior at individual level, but also at group and organization level. OB is an action-oriented and goal-oriented discipline. It provides a rational thinking about people and their behavior. OB is a science as it systematically studies human behavior, as well as an art as it applies that behavioral knowledge. So we can always say OB is science as an art, as we say about the management. OB aims to fulfill both individual and organization goals. Here the goals has to be common goal. It should be synced and aligned with the individual goals as well as strategically to the organization goals. When we talk about the organizations, so organization have a very systems, have different systems. The open system, let's talk about that. The organizations are subsystems of society. There are a lot of systems which are within the organizations. Society subsumes many systems. The open system respectively not only identifies the characteristics of the system in terms of its relationship with other systems external to it, but also provides a framework to understand the internal structures and functions and the processes which binds them. So when we talk about the open system, it focuses not only the external social constraints on organizational action, but also from the internal as well. As organization have all the systems are interrelated and they are synced with each other. Let's come to the point of institutionalization. Organization structures are purported to develop in highly institutionalized context. They are influenced to take on practices and procedures that are defined by prevailing rationalized ideas about organizational work held in the society. So whatever be the work which is actually going on within an organization, it has to be influenced by the policies, practices, procedures, and the things which are directly influenced by the logical and rationalized ideas, rationalized systems about the organizational work. It is not only by creating, defining execution of norms, which means that it includes the execution and defining and strategically making the policies. To regulate the flow of the activity includes that follows the norms and the policies and the structures which are already being defined. Then between and within the organization, all the flow activities has to be between and within the organization, which is interdepartment, within the people, within the structures and the policies which are aligned. There are certain neo-institutionalist model. Dimensions of rationalized environment boundaries are not clearly defined. When we talk about the new, it comes up with the new ideas, new rationals, new policies, and with the new ideas, which says that the boundaries are not clearly defined as per as the neo-institutionalist model. Here, the institutionalized elements in the environment, mechanism influencing organization, that the flow of the model goes from where the boundaries are on the not clearly defined, then the mechanism influence the organization, and later on the final it flow to the extent set of organization, which includes identities, structures, activity patterns, which includes the policies and the strategic level decisions which needs to be included within the environment of an organization. Maybe it is internal environment, and of course to the external environment as well, because all the both of the two environment actually relates with each other and influence and depends what kind of policies are influenced by the internal to external environment, and sometimes a vice versa as well. OB has three main focus areas. As we know that organization is made up of the people on an individual level, group level, and organizational level. Or when we talk about the individual level, this is to within OB organizational context, it is intra-individual behavior, where we will be exploring the individual behavior in terms of attitudes, motivation, and certain learning levels. Everybody have their own attitude and motivation individually, where they wanted to grow, what position they wanted to have, what attitude they carries on. If we really talk about from the learning perspective also, that we include in the intra-individual behavior. Then it comes to group level. Group level consists of the people who are working within an organization, within the teams, which also reflects the interpersonal behavior between the people and sometimes within the teams. So it can be intra-teams and inter-teams, or intra-group or inter-group. But yes, the behavior is interpersonal between the people only, which not only explores the group norms, there are certain roles, and if there are people, there are conflicts. There is a group behavior which reflects on their own working areas, their leadership, their team building, and of course, their motivation level within the group, within the teams. Last but not the least is the organization level, which is a very strategically influence. It's focused on the entire structure, entire organization system, which directly relates with the policies, practices, organizational culture. Sometimes it relates with the organizational citizenship also. What are the policies? What is the workflow of a organization? And what are the new updates and new things which are coming within an organization on the top management? So organization level, if you really talk about from an OB perspective, that of course relates with the strategic decisions which has been taken by the top management overall. Organization environments. There are majorly 4 types of environment. One is homogeneous stable, where we say that the few functional divisions utilizing standardized rules and adaptation. Homogeneous means when all of them are from the same background, same almost the same level. There are certain functional divisions which utilize, there are the standard rules and regulations which are easily being adaptable. Heterogeneous stable, when the environment is very stable, there is no fluctuations on the environment, but there are people from the different functional divisions. For example, we have people from the sales, we have people from the the marketing, we have people from the finance, we have people from the HR. So they work on specific project, and they match to the homogeneous segments of the task environment and utilizing the rules extensively. They work on a very variety of the function, portfolio. Then the third one is homogeneous variable, where the organizational boundary and the spanning action suitable for the environment is they are geographically decentralized divisions concerned with planning responses to change. Then is heterogeneous variable, where the divisions itself themselves are functionally differentiated to match segments of the task environment and decentralized to monitor and plan. So overall, if we really talk about the organizational environment from OB perspective, they are majorly, which has been a subsystem of the external and internal environment of an organization. There are certain, when we talk about the institutional change processes, every institution, every process, every structure undergoes with a certain changes. The stage one is destabilization. Destabilization means when the practices are established are subjected to perceived crisis, felt needs, and precipitating jolts arising out of social upheavals, regulatory changes, absolute disruptive technologies, and competitive disadvantage. When there is certain changes which are going on, so sometimes the process during the first phase of the any of the change process, when we say there are certain regulatory changes, there are certain social norms which we have to follow, there are the technologies which is actually changing on a very rapid mode during as on date, with the competition within the industry and within the society as well. The second stage is when we are deinstitutionalization. There, the new players emerge, existing sconces is disturbed in established institutional framework. When there are people who enter into the institution, enter into an organization where the new updates, they come up with the new updates, they come up with the new policies, they come up with the new norms which need to be established and need to be worked out within the organization. The stage three is pre-institutionalization. Pre-institutionalization means organizations and individuals innovate on their own solutions. They work it out on different norms, they work it out on different principles, they work it out on different structures where they come up and sync with and find out the best of their own solutions which fit it into within the organization, with the people and the structure of an organization, which responds to local problems and conditions, whatever be going on, what are the challenges. So this is a stage where the pre-institutionalization is required. Then we talk about the theorization, where the abstract categories are developed. After the solutions has been defined and specified, the abstract categories are developed. The cause and effect chains are elaborated. What can be the effect of one particular thing which they really wanted to apply? What are the local deviations can be internalized? Justifying the failure of status quo and need for replacement. If there is any changes during this process, it need to be revisited, it need to be reframed, and then it is placed. The fifth stage is diffusion. The local innovations are spread for gaining conscious and achieving legitimacy based on their assumed pragmatic value. The diffusion means when we really talk about the local innovations, when it has been already researched and seen and it's spread for gaining conscious. So there we achieve on the legitimate values of and the legitimate policies of that stage is called diffusion. Finally, cognitive legitimacy MANISSHA is attained as a function of the density of adoption, with the result that the ideas are taken for granted as natural and expected and thus critically accepted. This stage is fully institutionalized where all the norms, policies, theories is established. Everything has been done on a very straight framework, very researched work, and finally we comes up with a result where the ideas are natural and expected, and it is developed and established, and it is accepted by the entire organization after this critical. Before that they already critically examined and established with keeping all the norms, policies, problems and conditions of an organization. If we talk about again on the environment and the spanning actions, we talk about four of the environment, which is homogeneous, stable. The few functional divisions utilize standardized rules and adaptation. Here we talk about the environment where the the standardized rules and adaptations are used as an action of that. Then again, heterogeneous, stable, again a variety of functional divisions matched to the homogeneous segment of the task environment and utilizing rules extensively. And again, with the homogeneous variable and heterogeneous, which I have already explained in the previous slides. There are certain processes as a sources of human behavior. When we talk about the human behavior, human is a social animal. It has to have interact with people around. They have to deal with the people around. They need to follow the processes as per the society and the social processes. First is contact, then is adjustment and accommodation. Third is conflict. Fourth is competition. Fifth is cooperation. Then is assimilation, acceleration, and socialization. When we say contact, contact means they come across the new people, they come across, deal with the new people within the teams, within the groups, within the organization, and in the society, people contact with each other. Later, when they really feel comfortable and they really feel that I can be able to get along with the people in a society as a social process, they try to adjust with the pros and cons and the weaknesses or strength and try to accommodate with the people. When the accommodation is, when the people are settled in the social process, since we are dealing with the human behavior, so it may lead to the conflicts. Conflict refers to the changes of the the conceptual knowledge. Conflict can arise due to the if they are not willing to get along on the same thing. The conflict may arises between the people on certain norms or policies. When there is conflict, the competition arises. Everybody wants to get the best out of the systems. There the competition arises. Everybody wants to get ahead of that. But yes, along with the competition, there is also incorporation between the people in a social process. It is very much required, and that leads to the collaboration. When we talk about the organization as a social process, as a source of human behavior, it leads from competition, cooperation to collaboration that leads to assimilation, and finally it gets into socialization. They get along, the teams get along towards, and they work towards the common goal. That is how the human behavior works, because when they come in contact for the first time, they adjust, they conflict, they compete, they cooperate or collaborate, they assimilate again, and finally they socialize with each other. And if we see from organization point, then it is working towards the same goal. There is certain process levels. The person as an individual is an existential process. They are trying to figure it out, what is me, what I want, what I wanted to do in a organization or in a society. Then it comes to the interpersonal. Interpersonal is between the people. There, that process is called empathetic process. We have to have empathy with the other person. When we talk about the interpersonal relationship, is the best when we have respect and empathy with for each other. Then the third level is the role. Role is the coping process where we are aligning together, we are syncing together, we are on the same page, we are on the same platform, where we cope up with all the weaknesses and strengths and the environment which has been given to us. After the role as an individual, it comes to the group. Group is a the people who actually builds towards the move towards the goal. That process is called building process, because all the people combinedly collaboratively build the goal, or maybe reach the goal collaboratively. Within the group, it is collaborative process. When we say collaboration, all the people in the group are equally, and they all are stakeholders. They don't work for themselves, they work together. There is a concept of me to we that comes as a collaborative process. The organization, from organization context, it is a growth process, because once from the person to the group to the after the collaboration, the organization also grow along with the people. The people grows. That is why the people are known as the asset of any organization. The people grow, the organization also grow. The organization environment interface, that is the influence process. Here, the organization environment is plays a very important role when we really say about the influence of the people or the growth within an organization. Then it comes to the community process or social awareness. The people, the group, the organization, then the community. The community process of social awareness relates with the people through when they are working together for a specific goal. When the behavior is towards the organization goal, they creates the community. The community process of social awareness is very important for the economic growth and the societal growth. The society, when it comes to the society as a whole, it is a value process. We may also extend it the process level, the society, to the nation, to the economy. So from the individual, it leads to the economy, the nation, the society. But yes, in between, there are the roles of people, which leads to interpersonal. There is the role, there is a process of building where we are building together the nation or the society or the organization. Then there are intergroup growth process of the organization, and community collectively leads to the value process. There are two types of organization primarily, that is bureaucratic and modern organization. Bureaucratic organization is mainly given by Max Weber. He advocated that, and the modern organization advocated by Warren Bennis, the group theory of Renaissance Lickard, highlights the role of relations, contingency approach of Lawrence and Lodge, Galbraith links mechanistic and organic structures. Duncan discussed static and dynamic organization structure. When we say the structure and hierarchy, bureaucratic organizations are rigid. They are hierarchical. There are certain clear goals and authorities. When we say modern organization, they are flexible and decentralized. They often have an open door policy and open door systems. The decision making is centralized. It is always from top to down. Whereas in the modern organization, if we see, they are decentralized, they are more participative. The leaderships leads to the participative leadership. Employee empowerment is more. You can see employee empowerment is more in the modern organization. Communication style is formal and bureaucratic, whereas the modern organization have an open, transparent system, which they normally also called as open door policies. In bureaucratic, it is always top down, but in the modern organization, it is functional, it is cross functional, informal communication. Flexibility and innovation is low flexibility in bureaucratic, whereas the flexibility in modern organization is very high. They encourages the courage and innovation. Most of the organizations as on today are really focusing on creativity and innovation. The ideas are very well invited, very well designed by the group of people who collaboratively work and sit for the best of the organization. Whereas in the bureaucratic, the people are little, the top management is little resistant to change. They are limited. So if the change resistance is there, then the innovation is also limited. Employee motivation is mainly on extrinsic motivation. They are mainly motivated by the salaries and the promotions. Whereas in the modern organization, there are certain other things apart from the salary that we also mainly, of course, extrinsic motivation is there, but majorly it is intrinsic motivation, that the motivation which comes within to create, to grow, to move further within an organization along with their goal and to give the best of their. The culture is focused on control, rules, and stability, whereas in the modern organization, it is focused on collaboration, innovation, and adaptability. The employee role and identity is narrow. They are very specialized roles, limited cross-functional exposure, whereas in the modern organization, there are broad roles. Employees are encouraged to contribute across functions, because as on today we are seeing the employees are very much focused on their learnings and upgrading themselves day on day with the rapid changes of the technological advances as well. So most of the employees are fitted into a project with a lot of other work along with the core areas. Technology and work processes. Bureaucratic organizations are traditional. They have functional use of technology, whereas the modern organization embraces technology for collaboration and innovation. The work environment is formal, structured, limited employee autonomy, whereas in the modern organization, it is dynamic, collaborative, and empowering employees. Employee engagement is very low. It is limited involvement in decisions in bureaucratic organization, whereas in the modern organization, it is highly engaged. The employees are highly engaged with, involved in the decision making, involved in policy formation. If there is any process improvements, innovations, creativity within an organization, in the modern organization, they are most welcome and they have sit strategically with the top management. They're asked to find out the ways and to change the organization in a more better way. That's more of a collaboration and innovation. The models of OB mainly are Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical model, which the key concepts are ID, ego, superego, and unconscious motivation. This model emphasizes the conflict between ID, that's me, impulse, superego is my conscious, and ego is my balancing force, which affects behavior. So they say that there are basically three kind of egos, which is my own, then it is superego, and there is an ego where we have to balance, which actually affects the behavior of a human being as an individual. Eric Bernie's transactional analysis is child, adult, parent ego states, which focuses on cognitive dissonance leading to behavioral problem. Explain the interaction of different ego states in behavior. There, we see that if the manager is or the subordinates are working in what ego states, are they into adult child ego or parent ego or child ego? So these are the ego states. These are the states of their own behaviors. Cognitive approach that is given by Edward Tolman, expectancy, free will, positive aspects of human behavior. They emphasize on human behavior as a goal directive, in contrast of Freud's focus on negative and irrational motivations. The classical conditioning is given by Ivan Pavlov, which is given by stimulus response model. The behavior is shaped by stimulus that causes a response. That is a manifest behavior. So Evan Pavlov, the psychologist, he work on stimulus response, where they say that the behavior is based on the stimulus happen, and what the response, the way you behave, you'll get the response out of that. So this is what the basic models are. There are certain other models which is given by B.L. Skinner, that is operation conditioning, that is response stimuli model. It is the opposite of what we did stimulus response model given by classical conditioning. He said that behavior is shaped by consequence. It is not always that what you respond, what you behave, you'll get the response. Sometimes it depends on the conditions, the consequences are there. Behavior is leading to pleasant outcome is repeated, while unpleasant outcomes leads to extinction. Then there is an ABC model. ABC model, the key concepts are behavior is caused and shaped by consequences. It combines SR and RS model. It means it is combination of classical conditioning and operant conditioning, suggesting that behavior is influenced by both preceding factors and subsequent outcomes. There is SOR model, which mainly focus on the individual differences and highlights that such stimulus may lead to different responses due to individual differences in the organism. It depends on the motivation level, it depends on the attitude, it depends on perception, it depends on a lot of other things which makes the stimulus and the response of an organism. Then there is SOBC model, which is stimulus, organism, behavior, and then consequence. That is mainly from the environmental factors. It integrates SR, RS, and SOR model. It means it integrates all the three models of conditioning, classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and SOR model, which recognizes a continuous interaction between cognitive, behavior, and environmental factors in shaping behavior. When we talk about the shaping behavior, it is not only the behavioral aspect, it is all about the cognitive, which is a mental capacity of a person, mental abilities of a person, and it all the behavior and the mental abilities also influenced by the environmental factors, the environment around them, the people around them, that makes a person, that shapes the behavior of a person. Sometimes we can see the person behaves at one place, in the same person behaves in a different manner to the different positions when and with the different people. There is a very fantastic theory which is given by Albert Bandura, that is social learning theory. It is an interaction of cognitive, behavioral, and environmental determinants. Behavior is best explained by interaction of cognitive processes, behavioral action, and the environment. When we say behavior, behavior can be defined and be explained only when we talk, when we interact in any of the mediums of the cognitive process. That's the mental capacity, the mental abilities, behavioral actions, and the environment. The social learning theory is widely used in most of the organization, keeping the behavior in track, and it is actually applied in the modern organizations very well. The formal organization system. When we talk about the organization system, so every organization has certain objectives and resources. These resources are inclined and leads to the technological. Then when we say technological advances in the rapid technological changes leads to the making of the organization structure. The organization structure is formal requirement and expectations, which is also leads by the authority, which from authority here means the top management, and it leads to job satisfaction and tendency to perform. This is how the FOS, the formal organization structure, works. When we say formal organization structure, we were talking about the systems model. The system view of OB is the input is all objectives and resources. Objectives are the goals of an organization, resources. When we talk about the men, money, material, machines, FOS is my formal organization system, which is defined and explained here. It is influenced by IS and SS. IS is individual system and SS is social system, because the organization is made by the people and within this entire system where all the people are working and collaborating and responding to each other. These IS and SS, the individuals and social system, creates the organizational behavior where the OB modification and OB reinforcement is inclined and leads to the output, which is the final result of any organization for what they are working, is organizational effectiveness. Every organization works for the effectiveness of their the systems, the workings, the people, which lead by the people. Finally, there is a feedback loop. From the output, the people get the feedback, what has been what changes has to be made, what reformation has to be made. Then again, it goes to the input, and the entire system works throughout. This is called the system view of organizational behavior, when all the things are interrelatedly synced together, aligned together from input to output. Because without feedback, it is incomplete. Output only gives us the what needs to be modified, what needs to be changed. OB models depends, basically OB models covers the four leadership as well as the behavioral aspects. That is autocratic, where it depends on power. Power means when they are talking about the top management, where they have the more authoritative people, when the obedience is more inclined, personal dependency is very much, subsistence is employees need, that's a main employee need, performance results are minimum, and the moral measure is compliance. They always work around the compliance, around the authorities. The custodial is more focused on economic resources, whereas the supportive and collegial is on leadership, and mutual contribution is collegial. When we talk about the managerial orientation, as autocratic have authority, the custodial have material rewards as they revolve around the economic resources. The supportive, of course, they need the support, they need the people to work around, and the collegial is all about the integration and teamwork and collaboration. The employee orientation on custodial is security, as it is led by the economic resources, and the supportive, it is the employee orientation is more focused towards the performance, and in the collegial environment, it is responsibility. The employee psychological result in autocratic, as I said, personal dependency, whereas in the custodial, it is organizational dependency. Supportive, it is a participation. It is a participation of not only the people, but also the system, the top management, all the levels, 3 levels of the management are aligned together. Collegial is self-disciplined. There, everybody works for the organization towards the common goal with a self-disciplined manner. Employee needs met. Autocratic is subsistence, whereas the custodial is maintenance and security. Supportive is higher order. Collegial is self-realization. it is the highest form of the people who have self-realization. It has been said that they work in a very disciplined manner with a more responsibility, with a more enthusiasm, and they achieve the goals very easily. Moral measure here, autocratic, of course, because it has been derived by the authority. So the moral measures are compliance. Custodial is satisfaction, because here it's on economic resources. Then it is leadership, where in supportive, it depends on leadership, so it is more of a motivation measure. Moral is there. Then in collateral, it is all about business. We are talking about self-realization, self-discipline, commitments, enthusiasm. So it is not only to commitment to themselves, but also to the team and the task which has been assigned to them. There are certain moments when we talk about the history, when we see back to the organizational behavior. Initially, it was classical movement, which was primarily given by, run by scientific management of W. Taylor, 14 principles of Henry Fayol, that's administrative theory also, and the Weber is a bureaucratic theory. Social man theory. Here, Mary Parker Follett and Chester Barnard contribute onto that. And Mary Parker Follett, she said that it is, she quoted art of getting things done from people. That's because here, when we are talking about the society, when we are talking about the people who are interacting with each other, it is getting that works done is also an art. So she focused and she worked on that level. Then there is a behavioral approach where the personal office and industrial psychology with Hugo Munzberg in 1913. Personal and industrial psychology is very well-known terms in, if you talk about the behavioral approach, because personal is more inclined towards the welfare, whereas industrial psychology, we'll see in the further slides. Hawthorne experiment by Elton Mayo was very well researched and very well known experiment in context of human relations movement. And when we say new human relations, that is Maslow's need hierarchy theory of motivation, McGeorger theory X and Y. We normally say theory X and Y when we talk about the motivation theories. Let's go into the detail of the classical theory and their key concepts and their impact. The classical theory, when we say it is Frederick Taylor, they focus on efficiency, productivity, task specialization, time and motion study, monetary and incentives, and managerial control, which actually emphasizes on improving the task efficiency. More you work, more you get out of that. The machine with clear, repetitive tasks, it's very monotonous. The motivation is primarily through financial rewards. When it is Henry Fayol, he focused on 14 principles of management, which revolves around the management levels, the hierarchy level, authority and responsibility, centralization and decentralization, forecasting and planning, coordination and control. He was more focused, he impacted on focus on managerial control of controlling and coordination of all the activities. The stability in the processes and decision making was very, very important. Bureaucratic theory, as we already done before in the previous slides, but the impact of organizational behavior with context of Max Weber, Weber was formal authority, rules and regulations. It also revolves around the structured roles and responsibilities, because the key concept was based on the merit-based promotions. Organization structure. Organization structure, when we say it is centralization and decentralization, division of labor and clear hierarchy. When I say organization structure, so the key concept revolves around that there has to be proper authority and responsibility given to the people around, and there has to be reporting system. They have the people, know whom to report. There should not be middleman, or the roles are very well defined. The centralization results in top-down communication, whereas decentralization allows for more autonomy at the lower levels. In the classical theory, the employee motivation revolves around focus on external rewards. The main motivation is the pay. It was focused on the monetary rewards. Task efficiency over job satisfaction. It is more rigid and one-dimensional. Whereas when we see the impact on organization behavior, often of the people, that is motivation through financial incentives only. They only look out for the money. The more we work, more we get. But after a certain period of time, there are some limitations. The consideration is basically comes from the intrinsic motivation. There is only an extrinsic motivation which is relates directly with the outer motivational factors, and pay and money is one of the major factor. Let's see the social man theory. Social man theory was given by Mary Parker Follett and Chester Barnard. The view of the power here, Parker Follett, she has given that power should be shared in a collaborative way. And whereas Chester Barnett say authority must be accepted by subordinate for it to be effective. So they get along with the power that the authority and the power should be equally distributed, or it is accepted. Leadership, Mary Follett say leadership is a process of collaboration and interaction. She focused on the conflict is very natural. When people are working together, when people are working in a team, there has to be conflict, because everybody have their own way of thinking, the theoretical, the conceptual knowledge, the practical implications of that knowledge, the mental capacity, mental abilities, and can be constructive and managed properly. She believes in that about the conflict management. The role of cooperation, she said, that emphasize on integration of all the ideas for mutual benefit. Yes, there are conflict, but there has to be integration of all those ideas, or maybe the best one comes out of that. It is more on a group dynamics when we say about the informal and influence within the organization. The management role should facilitate collaboration and group work. So overall, the Follett works and focused on the group, informal influence, cooperation, integration, constructivist point of view. Whereas the Chester Barnard talks about the authority, leadership. It's not only about authority. He says that it is all about the decision making, communication, and coordination. The organization has to work in a cooperative system, and it is mutually cooperative. Managers must communicate effectively. There has to be open communication and ensure the alignment of the individual and organization goals. All the individual and the organization has to be synced, has to be aligned with each other. Behavioral approach. Behavioral approach, when we say the psychology applied to work. Here, as I show you in this diagram, behavioral approach focused on industrial psychology with Wornsberg. He argued the psychological principles. He applied psychology in areas of recruitment, selection, and training. Nowadays, we are seeing a lot of psychometric tests and are going on when we are going for the selection. There are pre-tests, post-tests when we talk about the training portfolios. Personnel selection, he believed in psychological tests to assess the suitability of the candidate for specific jobs. Employee performance, that is through the experimental psychology, aiming to determine how factors such as lightning, fatigue, mental state affects workers' efficiency. When we say job fit and design and fit, the matching the right person to the right job based on the individual's abilities and job's requirement. He emphasized on that. He advocated on the job design and redesigning of the jobs as per the capabilities and the abilities of the individual. The task has to be assigned to them to maximize productivity. Human factors and ergonomics, although not fully developed during his time, but now the organizations are very well focused on the ergonomics. they strongly believe and emphasize if the physical work environments are good, it impact on the employee performance. These are the human factor which has to be keep in mind to include in the daily behavioral aspects for the organizational effectiveness. Training and motivation, that's very well implied when we talk about the psychological principles to enhance the employee motivation. People are very focused when they really wanted to upgrade themselves, upskill themselves. Everybody wants to get, at a higher post, not a time bound, but also along with the upskilling themselves, upgrading themselves. Sometimes the people are more motivated, self-motivated, to upgrade themselves, but organizational also focusing on training and motivation factors from learning perspectives. They are, organizing the workshops and the training programs to enhance the employee motivation from that level. Scientific management, the work aligned with the principle of scientific management, which was given by F.W. Taylor in classical approach, with direct focus on psychology role in improving work conditions and outcome. We believe in that if we apply the scientific management where the division of work is there, more you work, more you get, along with the motivation, because the employees can work best when they are intrinsically and extrinsically, both ways they are motivated. There are certain ways, that is how the psychology and the organization behavior overall works for an employees. Human relations approach is a fantastic experiment which was given by Elton Mayo and his colleagues in Western Electric Company near Chicago. It went from 1924 to 32. So this experiment consisted of four phases. First phase was elimination experiment, that was from 1924 to 27. Then it was relay assembly test room, that was 1927 to 29. The interviewing program went from 1928 to 30, and the bank wiring observation room was done in 1932. The elimination experiment, the objective was to investigate the relationship between output and elimination. Elimination, what they did, they put some employees where they are working within the on the good light, and some employees work on where it is the lightning effect was not good. There was no consistent relationship between output and elimination. They say the findings said that beyond lightning influence workers' productivity. There are certain other factors. It is not about lights, because that was a factory, that was an industry. So there was no direct relationship between output and elimination. But yes, it may affect, but it was not the only factor. Then the second experiment, after this, they did the relay assembly test room experiment, where they study the impact of social and psychological factors on production, where they found that productivity and morale increased when workers felt important, recognized, and involved, whereas the social psychological factors had a significant impact on productivity. So here they found that the people who are recognized for the work, or maybe for the decisions, or maybe any ideas what they give, or if they are involved, the productivity automatically increases. The psychological impact on those employees are much more ahead than of the other employees. Then the third stage, when as a mass interview program, they systematically study the employees' opinion on work, working conditions, and supervision. They found that the social factors and the workers felt about their work environment. What are they find out all those factors which impacted more on for their daily work routines, what needs to be changed, what has to be changed, what influence the work attitude and the productivity. Then finally, the final was done in 1932, bank wiring test room experiment. The objective of this experiment was to observe a group of workers under conditions close to normal and compare production records. There they found the group dynamics, the informal relationship, and social norms significantly influenced the worker behavior and the performance. Here they found that the people who are working in a group under certain conditions where they can be able to interact, where they can be able to talk, where they can be able to discuss on the objectives, they work much more better, they are much more productive. That actually influence on the overall enhancement of the organizational performance. There is also new human relations, which one is Maslow's need hierarchy theory. So Abraham Maslow said that there are 5 levels of motivation, which an individual are self-motivated or motivated by others. The basic, when the needs are, because it is based on the needs hierarchy theory, once the base needs are fulfilled, then only they can be able to reach to the higher needs. The basic need is physiological needs. Physiological needs is the basic needs. When we say hunger, home, shelter, clothes, or maybe the basic needs which we require to fulfill, then only we can jump to the security and the safety needs. When I talk about, or the Abraham Maslow mentioned that the safety and security needs on an individual level is their job security and the stability in income. Once they are stable in their income, then only they can jump to the social needs. The social needs is all about the affiliations, recognition, social circles, friendship. Because if you see from a practical point of view, also, my physiological needs are not completed. I even cannot think about the friendship in the social circle, or maybe if I want to get into some, the functions of the parties, I need to really understand my physiological and my security, my income, because everything derives by the money also. If I want to get along with the friend circle, I need my, the money also, and I should be mentally, satisfied. Yes, everything is intact and everything is there for me. The esteem needs arises only after social needs. When we sit in the groups, when we sit in the friend circles, when we sit in the society or the councils, there we need some status that is called esteem needs. Esteem need arises only when we sit along with the people. And the self-actualization need. Self-actualization need arises when I am above all those needs. When my all these 4 needs are fulfilled, then I think about what requires for the self-fulfillment. So he say that he mentioned he focused on primarily to fulfill the physiological needs to move further with other needs of an individual. The other theory is McGeorge's X and Y theory, which is again a new human relations. Theory X says the management assumes that the employees are resistant to work and must be controlled to meet organization goals. As a result, managers must use close supervisions, external rewards, and punishment to motivate employees. So theory X and theory Y, these 2 theories are opposites. Theory X primarily talk about where people dislike work, where they have little ambition, where they are more controlled to work hard, where they are they have more to avoid responsibility. They work on a very monotonous and they are in a controlled manner. Whereas theory Y says the employees are naturally creative. They are very ambitious. They are self-motivated people. They wanted to accept the challenge. They do the things with their challenging responsibilities. They are intrinsically motivated. Nobody is there who push them to work ahead. They themselves wanted to work for themselves. Enjoy work. And these people under the theory, those who are self-directed and controlled, are rewarded for their achievements and accept responsibilities. Behavioral scientist theorist Jacob Moreno, sociometric analysis, operant conditioning and behavior modification, projective test, contingency model, motivators and hygiene factors, and 5 core dimensions which are given by Jacob Moreno. B.F. Skinner, which we have also saw in our previous slides. David McLean gave projective test. Fred Filler gave the contingency model. Herzberg gave the motivator and hygiene factor. Hackman and Altman have 5 core dimensions. They all contributed to the behavioral science, and everything is somehow related with 3 dimensions help in motivating and designing the job. That's all. Thank you so much. अच्छा मेरी तरफ से बंद हो गया. अच्छा वो ऑटो में 15 पर अपने आप ऑटो ऑफ हो जाता है या आप लोग करते हो?
हम करते हैं.
आप करते हो. अच्छा हो गया ना? ठीक है. ठीक है. थैंक यू. ये पानी फ्रेश है ना?
यस.